Hey everyone, Adam Tracy. Want to talk about the Anjouan offshore bank license, right? And I've talked about the iGaming license before, and in the last maybe 6 months, I've been inundated with inquiries regarding Anjouan and the Comoros Union in general, which is difficult to find on a map, but they've seemingly found a niche in the offshore world because they have made a series of licenses, including banking, which are wildly inexpensive to obtain, exceptionally easy to obtain, and very timely and cost efficient to obtain. So the Anjouan license that you're actually going to want to seek is the Class B license, which is an offshore license, which limits you to offshore activities versus the 12 people who may live in Anjouan. And it's very basic, right? Like there is a scaled down business plan requirement, KYC policy, stuff like that. But it's nowhere near what you're going to encounter anywhere else offshore, right? Whether it be, Vanuatu, St. Vincent, Puerto Rico, anywhere. It's very, very basic and scaled down. The capital requirement is the most interesting part because it's 100,000, but unlike a lot of other jurisdictions, it is in fact a reserve deposit that has to be kept, right, on account in Anjouan with the Reserve Bank. Or the best way is if you can get a guarantee from an acknowledged foreign bank, right? And it's basically a guarantee, almost like a surety bond in a sense. And, those guarantees can cost money, but mostly they don't, provided you have some kind of correspondent relationship. And the trick with the Anjouan license is just that, the correspondent relationship. Whereas, anywhere else, basically, there are a lot of banks that are in the correspondent relationship business, right? Especially when it comes to like multi-currency accounts and things of that nature. But Anjouan, you're looking at a smaller pool, like you're just swimming in a smaller pond, right? And that's because the license isn't, I guess, highly favored. It's a relatively new, thing. But you see a lot of banks that are, starting to kind of get traction in terms of assets under management and stuff. So I think it's getting better, but the difficulty is never getting the license, and you can get the license in almost under 2 months. The difficulty is always that correspondent bank, right? And the payment rails that come with it, depending on what you want to offer your clients. And it's unique because that challenge is far, far greater than getting the license ever is. And I've said that before about different offshore jurisdictions, but the scale of difficulty is just different with Anjouan because of the license. There's been issues in the past with rogue players who were licensed because it's very check the box. Like in my experience, when the regulators come in and, sort of look at it, it's less, probing, and it's more, well, did you give us that, right? Very just sort of, you completed the list, right? So it's great, right? Especially for like a low cost foothold into the offshore banking realm, so to speak, right? And I've said this in the context of crypto, Forex, iGaming, where you start from a licensing perspective is very rarely where you end up, right? Unless this is something that like you're just well capitalized, right? Where you can skip these sort of beginning or intermediate steps. So to the extent that, and crypto's the best example, right? And it's mostly because we're just coming online with different crypto licenses, but you see like the Coinbases of the world, like slowly picking up all these licenses, and they don't need them from a legal perspective. But like at one point, they're just trying to like increase the stature of and the optics behind their regulation. And to get in and get started with a bank for 150,000 or less is unheard of, right? Like, I mean, the cheapest alternative is like Puerto Rico, and that's 650,000, right? So it's definitely a place where you can start, right? You can get the correspondent bank. It's a little more challenging, but you build your AUM, the scope of services you can offer in Anjouan is comparable to that of the international financial entities in Puerto Rico, where it's like everything from securities to commodities. And so it's great to get that foothold, establish the service lines that you want to establish. There's really no limitation in terms of, who you can onboard. And then when the costs justify the means, then hey, go to BVI, go to the Bahamas, go to Cayman Islands, go wherever you want. But just to like test the model, get some brand equity, and get it going, it's the quickest and easiest way to do it. And you're in business in like 2 months. And on top of it, my favorite topic, there's no economic substance requirements, right? So you don't have to worry about the dumb office and like the person just sitting in there like staring at a blank screen that you're paying, right? Not that you'd have to pay very much, nor would the cost be great, but there's virtually no economic substance requirements, which I can't say that would last forever, but I can't say if they did implement it, it would actually be cumbersome or prohibitively expensive that would make you look elsewhere, right? It's just not how they operate there, right? So I would definitely take a look at it, and again, I think your biggest, the correspondent banking and perceived optics, but there's a lot of really solid players there now, like who've really established themselves as being legit and offer an array of services comparable to really any of the leading offshore banks. It's just they're licensed in Anjouan. So that is the Anjouan offshore banking license. Hit me up, adamtracy.io. Happy to discuss it, lay out the roadmap for getting the license, and answer any questions you have. Talk to you next time. Cheers.